Summary of Death and the King's Horseman by Wole Soyinka. Elesin, the king's horseman, dances through the market near the end of the day. He can't wait to get to the market, and he tells his praise singer that all he wants is to be there with the women, where he is happy. The praise singer makes sure that Elesin's plan to die later is still in place. Elesin tells him that he is happy to die, but now he wants the women to dress him in nice clothes and let him enjoy life. Elesin dances and sings the story of the not-eye bird to show the praise singer how serious he is about dying. The not-eye bird tells everyone, including humans, animals, and gods, that it's time to die. All the beings tell the bird they're not ready and hide, but Elesin says that when the bird came for him, he told it he'd be right along. As Elesin tells this story, the women of the market, including Ayaloja, gather around him and dance with him. He and the women sing a call-and response song in which he tells them he's going to die. Elesin, the women, and the praise singer all talk about how honorable Elesin is, but Elesin gets angry when the women say nice things about him. They don't know what they said wrong, but Elesin finally tells them that all he wants is to be dressed in nice clothes. Elesin sees something in the distance, and then a beautiful young woman comes into the market and takes his attention away. When Elesin starts talking about possibly being dead already, the praise singer thinks he is going crazy. They talk about how Elesin has a reputation for being popular with women, and Elesin asks who the woman was. Ayaloja explains with some reluctance that the woman is already taken. This bothers Elesin, but he insists and says that since it's his last day on Earth, he should be able to marry her, have a child with her, and leave this as a gift. Ayaloja tries to tell Elesin that this is a bad idea, but she gives in the end. Later that night, Simon Pilkings and his wife, Jane, dance the tango in the living room of the house of the district officer. They are wearing clothes called a gungun. When Amusa, the neighborhood sergeant, comes with news, he is upset to see the agungun. He won't look at Pilkings or talk to him, which makes Pilkings very angry, especially because Amusa is a Muslim and shouldn't be upset about this, in Pilkings's mind. Pilkings finally tells Amusa to just write down what he has to say. Amusa's report is scary because it says that Elesin wants to commit death, which Amusa says is a crime. Pilkings and Jane think that Elesin is going to kill someone, so Jane suggests that they skip the costume ball and deal with this problem instead. Pilkings just chooses to put Elesin in jail. They call their houseboy, Joseph, and he tells them that Elesin is going to kill himself so he can go to the afterlife with the king, who died a month ago. Pilkings sighs. He has a past with Elesin. For years ago, he sent Elesin's oldest son, Olunde, to England to train as a doctor, even though Elesin said Olunde had to stay for a ritual. They figure out that this is the right, and Jane figures out that Olunde will be the next king's horseman. Joseph explains himself when Pilkings calls the natives devious bastards. Pilkings calls Joseph back to ask what the music is about. He gets angry when Joseph says he can't tell because it sounds like both a wedding and a funeral. Joseph leaves again, and Jane says they need to stay home and figure out what's going on. Pilkings gives Joseph a note to take to the police station, tells Jane to put on her dress again, and tells them that the prince will be at the ball, so they have to go. Back in the market, Amusa and his men try to get past a group of women so they can get into a stall with expensive cloth on it. The women make fun of Amusa for working for the English, make fun of his manhood, and charge him of breaking the law. They won't let him get any closer to Elesin and say that Elesin will kill himself to show that he is stronger than the white guys. Ayaloja comes to help solve the problem, but when she does, she joins the women in mocking Amusa. Several young girls decide to do things on their own. They steal the officers' batons and hats and then put on a play where they are Englishmen talking about how the locals lie and how bad the weather is. This makes Amusa feel bad and embarrassed, but Ayaloja doesn't defend him. Amusa and his guards finally leave. As Elesin steps out of the stall, the women dance and cheer for the girls. He just had sex with his new bride, and he says that the future is in the child that she will give birth to. Elesin starts to pay attention to the drums, talk about what's going on, and dance towards death. As he says that the king's dog and horse are dying, the women dance with him. The praise singer then tells Elesin what he needs to do. Elesin goes deeper and deeper into the dream, and the praise singer tells him that the people on the other side will welcome him back if they don't treat him well. At the ball, the prince is introduced by the band. The prince likes the Agungun outfits, but the resident soon pulls Pilkings outside to tell him about a note from a musa about Elesin's suicide. The local tells Pilkings that he needs to be careful to help the kingdom, and when a musa shows up, the local asks if a musa is part of the riot. Pilkings tries to get a musa to give him his report, but a musa won't talk to him while he's dressed as an Agungun. As soon as the clock hits midnight, Pilkings fires a musa. He and Jane wonder if this is the moment Elesin will kill himself, and Pilkings runs away. Olunde comes back from England and finds Jane outside. He asks her for Pilkings. They talk about her outfit, and Olunde says that even though he will look at her, she is still being rude by wearing the Agungun. He tells her that because she's English, she doesn't understand why it's wrong. They talk about World War II, which is going on right now, and the morality of killing yourself to save a lot of other people. Jane doesn't send Olunde to Pilkings, and she is shocked when Olunde says he's here to bury Elesin and stop Pilkings from trying to save Elesin's life. He tries to explain that Elesin needs to die and that killing her is the right thing to do, but Jane won't listen. Olunde keeps telling her that thousands of Englishmen are dying in the war, which he says is a form of mass suicide. This makes her feel worse and worse. Olunde takes Jane outside to hear the drums and takes note of when Elesin dies. Jane is bothered by how calm Olunde is, which gets the aide-de-camp's attention, but Jane sends him away. Olunde tries to explain why he was so cool, but he also tries to get out of the conversation so he can go sit with the body of his father. Olunde and Jane hear Pilkings telling someone to hold people back from outside the stage. Pilkings comes into view, and Olunde says that it would have been a tragedy if Pilkings had been able to stop Elesin. This shocks Pilkings. Pilkings won't let Olunde visit his father, so he talks to the aide-de-camp. He wants to know if he can lock Elesin up in the cellar where slaves were kept. Pilkings is marching away, and Olunde and Jane are wondering what is going on. When they hear Elesin screaming, they know the answer to their question. Elesin comes running into view, but when he sees Olunde, he stops. He falls at Olunde's feet, and Olunde makes fun of his father and walks away. Elesin stands in his cell with his hands tied together and looks at the moon. In the cell with him are two guards, and his bride sits quietly outside. Pilkings tries to talk about how calm and peaceful the night is, but Elesin says that the night is not at all calm because Pilkings has destroyed Elesin's life and the lives of others. They disagree on whether or not Pilkings was just doing his job. Elesin says that he is no longer in danger of dying because he was supposed to die at a certain time a long time ago. He says he doesn't blame Pilkings, even though he ruined his life by taking Olunde and stopping Elesin from doing what he needs to do. Pilkings tries to make Elesin feel better by telling her that things aren't as bad as they seem. Olunde thinks that this can be fixed. Elesin doesn't agree, but he feels like he has lost all honor and can't even call himself Olunde's father. Pilkings leaves, and Elesin tells his bride that he partly blames her for his failure because she made him realize that he still wants to enjoy things on Earth and didn't want to die. Pilkings and Jane come back, and they fight about whether or not Olunde and Ialoja should be allowed to go to Elesin. Elesin tells Pilkings that Ialoja's stay won't make things worse than they already are. Pilkings lets Ialoja in, and she starts yelling at Elesin right away. She tells him he's embarrassed himself and everyone else, and she tells him she told him this would happen. He tries to tell her why he failed, but she doesn't care. Ialoja says that she is bringing a load with her. Pilkings tries to get Ialoja to leave, but she won't and says that Elesin has to do some things first. Their king will be sad in the future, so he needs to let their king go. The aide-de-camp runs in to say that there are women at the bottom of the hill. Since it's only women, the aide-de-camp agrees to let them into the cellar. They walk in holding a round object wrapped in cloth on their shoulders. Ialoja says it's the load and the king's courier, and Elesin needs to whisper in the courier's ear so he can free the king. Pilkings won't let Elesin leave. The praise singer tells Elesin what his job was and that someone else did it instead of him. The women tell Elesin that the cloth is covering Olunde's body, and the praise singer keeps telling Elesin how he has messed up everything. Elesin throws his chains around his neck and tries to kill himself because he is scared. Pilkings tries to bring him back to life, but Ialosia stops him. When he asks if this is what she wanted, Ialosia tells him that this is what happens when Pilkings doesn't understand how other people deal with death. Elesin's eyes are covered with dirt by the bride, and Ialosia leads her away. Ialosia tells the bride to think about the baby she will have.
About the author. Soyinka grew up in British-controlled Nigeria. His family was pretty well off. His father was an Anglican priest and the headmaster of a religious school, so they had electricity and a radio at home. Soyinka went to school in Nigeria at a college that was connected to the University of London. After he graduated, he moved to England and got a graduate degree at the University of Leeds. The Lion and the Jewel was his second play, and its success let him move to London. Soyinka kept writing plays and editing literary magazines in England and Nigeria for the next 10 years. Soyinka got interested in politics in the 1960s. He was arrested several times and put in jail for 2 years, and one of his books was banned in Nigeria. Soyinka wrote Death and the King's Horseman in 1975, when he was living outside of Nigeria. It has become one of his most famous works. He has been married 3 times and has 5 kids from those marriages.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.